Good day and welcome to an interview between myself and Dr. Jianping Wang, our newest president of Mercer County Community College. Good day.
Good day to you.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Wang, and I'm going to keep it like that for right now if you don't mind.
Okay.
So I would like to know, first of all, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, beginning with your birth in China and then moving to your role in the Tiananmen Square situation, if you don't mind?
I don't mind at all.
Thank you.
I have a very interesting road from China to U.S. I was born to my parents who, my mother never went to school. She learned to read and write some basics from going to the factory night school and just to kind of learn on her own a little bit. So she had no formal education whatsoever. My dad graduated from middle school. And so you can say I came from a very humble family, working parents. So in Chinese tradition, if your parents don't have political connections, don't have any party connections, then you will continue to be the child of a working parent. So I went to high school, and all my education, formal education years, from elementary school to high school, we went through 10 years Cultural Revolution in China. So I really didn't get much formal education other than reading mouse-read books. So, plus the Chinese traditional value of investing in boys, not girls, have been influencing my entire childhood. I have a younger brother who's 8 years younger than me, who does not like school, does not like to do homework, and does not like to go to classes. And I'm the opposite. But my parents would encourage him in any way they can, entice him, bribe him, do whatever to get him to go to school, study, and do homework. And they will do anything to discourage me from doing well in school and go to school.
So how did you make it from high school then into college? I mean, with this kind of barrage, if you will.
Yeah, it's sometimes, when the parents don't want you to do something, you know what happens? You just do it.
Yes, makes you more determined.
But there was another factor. I was the first child to my parents. My grandmother on my father's side was a very traditional Chinese lady. She did not like the fact that I was a girl, because my grandma's family had boys predominantly, and my dad was the youngest boy. So when my dad had me as his first child, and who happens to be a girl, it's a disgrace. My mother fell off the grace right off the bat right there for giving birth to a girl rather than a boy. So the deal is they could keep me, but they have to produce a boy next. So I always have this thing over my head, I gotta be a good girl, I gotta be a good girl, so that they don't send me away. 2 years later, my mother gave birth to my sister. My grandma came, took my sister in the hospital, and gave her away. So when my mother came out of the hospital, she had no child. She was beside herself. She never forgave my grandma ever since then. Till the day she died, my mother never forgave her. It's just something, I totally understand. As a mother, your child is given away when you wake up. So in my mind, I have to be a really, really good girl all the time. So in my mind, being a good girl, do the best, be the best, so that you don't disgrace your parents, so that they don't give you up. And that was a kind of a thing. But also, you're always feeling unsafe. You know, at some point,
Sure.
you might be the next. So I always befriended with some senior people. You know, senior meaning if I'm 2 years old, I have a friend who's 4 years old. So all my life, my friends are much older than me. And I guess you can say it's kind of a safety issue.
Sure.
And make you feel safe.
Sure.
So I was ironically a student leader even from kindergarten. Go figure, you know, you don't feel safe, but you go trying to outshine everybody else to prove that you're actually good. So I was very diligent doing homework and very diligent doing my chores and, you know, try to stay on the good side with my parents all the time. And then in my middle school year, I was bored out of my mind because, you know, you read the red books, how many times can you read? So I was so tired and bored at the same time. And I started to play with a transistor radio that my father bought for me as a birthday gift. And I'm flipping back and forth and trying to find something other than red mall books reading. And I stumbled on the Voice of America. And I didn't know what that was. And I thought this is a banana. This is a yellow banana. I said, so cool. So I start to imitate, not knowing what this is. Just sounds cool.
Yeah.
And so when I went to middle school, I have a teacher, and I always liked him, not knowing he was an English teacher, but he was not allowed to teach English. So I said to him, his last name is Shen, S-H-E-N-G. I said, Mr. Sun, you know, I listened to this thing on the radio. It sounds so cool. Do you know what that is? And he said, shh. And I said, what's the matter? He said, don't say anything about that. Come to my house on weekend. So I went to his house. And he pulled out a book. And he said, this is English. And I said, what's English? And he said, it's a language like a Chinese, but people in America speak. And I said, where is America? Can I go visit? He said, yes, but not by foot. And I said, then how do I get there? He said, oh, you have to fly. I said, fly? I can't fly. I'm not a bird. I can't fly. He said, no, you take the plane. Oh, no. I don't even take the train, never mind the plane, and my parents won't let me go anywhere. So he said, well, if you want to learn, that's a good thing because you're very smart and your brain is being wasted. You should study that. I said, well, but I don't know how to study this. He said, this is the textbook. And I immediately turned over to the end of the text to see how expensive it is because my first thing in my mind is my parents going to let me buy this thing? It was more than $1. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was more than $1. It's one Chinese dollar, which is like $1 US equivalent to 6 Chinese dollar. So I said, no way my parents is going to give me money to buy this. So he said, well, maybe you can copy it. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. I can copy the book. But then I said, well, I don't have the money to buy a notebook because if I go ask my parents, they're going to find out. So I went home. I came up with an idea. In China back then, almost everybody, men and women, all smoke. So when they finished their cigarettes, I asked them to give me back their cigarettes carton. I turned them inside out. They are glossy white paper. I stitched them together as a notebook. And I copied in 1 week the whole book. Not knowing a word of English, but I just literally draw everything. And I had so much fun doing it because it is so cool. It is so not boring than reading the mouse red book. So I give him back the book and he said, don't tell anybody. of this conversation you and I had, and don't tell them I have the book. And I said, no, I promise I won't. And I feel so empowered because he and I, he's a big adult, we have a secret. So that's how I started studying English.
Wow. Now, how did that study lead you to what happened as a college student?
I studied English, and then in high school I continued to study English. And at that time, English started to be offered in high school. And I was so far ahead than anybody else. Deng Xiaoping was the new premier and allowed us to return to classroom. So we returned to classroom, and English was beginning to be offered. Everybody was falling behind except me. So the teacher made me like a student teacher, if you will. So every morning, before the teacher arrives, I'm leading the class, reading the English textbook. And I'm exempt from all English quizzes. I feel on the top of the mountain. I feel I'm so really good. So then when I graduated from high school, I went to work because my parents told me, you have to go to work. So they found me a job in a factory literally across the street from their house. So in their mind, they've done their job. Send you through high school, found you a job near our house, you grow up, get married, have children, take care of us. Life is perfect. So I worked there in the testing shop. So all the transistor radio little bulbs were made. They come to the testing shop, and we test them before they ship out. So I'm working in that test shop. During the break, all the workers get 2 breaks, in the morning and in the afternoon. When we break, every other worker in the shop, they will congregate in groups and gossip about whatever. And I will grab a piece of newspaper or a book or whatever and sit quietly in the corner by myself and read. So my master, who happens to be one and only college graduate of a 600+ employee factory, took a notice of me. And so one day he says to me, would you like to go to college? And I said, college? My eyes pop up. Can I? And he said, someday they're going to restore this examination system that anybody can take an exam. If you pass, you can go. I said, when? He said, we don't know, but it could be next year. And I said, well, how can I do that? He said, well, shh, don't say anything. Just quietly read the books, get yourself ready. When they do and you're ready. And I said, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I said, oh, no, I can't, because my parents won't. My parents won't approve that. He said, well, let's think what we can do about that. He said, how about I make you work at night? You come to work at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Your shift is from that point till midnight. And no one is here but you. You can review the textbooks, and your parents wouldn't find out. Does that work for you? I said, oh, yes. So I was so excited. So I quietly read all the subject matters, taught myself, and then, boom, the next year, the country reformed. Deng Xiaoping came in power. He restored the national entrance exam, just like our SAT kind of thing. And so I signed myself up. And when the day before the test, you have to have your parents' signature before you can go to the exam site. I disclosed to my parents that I signed myself up and I want to go to take the test. My parents said, no, you are not going anywhere. And I said, but I prepared myself. I said, nope. So I start to cry, I start to scream, I start to kick. I do all the things that girls are very good at doing. Yes. And just to throw tantrum and all that stuff. So my dad finally said, you know what? Let her go. You can only do once. You're not going to pass. But that's it. After that, you stay in that factory for the rest of your life. We
So
found
he thought
you a
you were
good
going to
job.
flunk out.
Oh, yeah. So my first major is English.
Yes.
And I got so excited, I forgot to write my name on the English test. And when I got home, I realized that, oh my God, I forgot to put my name on the English test. So my second major is journalism. So they called me in for a interview, face-to-face. So that means I did okay. You know, all school combined, I did okay, but my English was zero, so off the chart, and I'm not even considered for the English. But they consider me for journalism. Just like luck would have it, the interview is on an island. I've never been out of my house, taking a train or boat to go somewhere. I got so excited. So my dad said, oh, you need to go to a public bath place and take a bath before you go. It's winter time. You know, in China back then, there was no bathroom, there was no whatever, flush toilet or anything. Everything is very primitive. So I went to a public bath, and my dad gave me his watch, because figuring you are on the road and you need a watch. So he gave me his watch. As a young girl, got a watch. This is like you got 10 carats of diamond. You are so scared, but you are so thrilled at the same time. So my dad said, no, don't wear it when you go to the public bath. I won't listen. I took it with me, and somebody stole it. So I came out of the public bath. I was scared to death to go home, to face my dad.
Sure.
So with that heavy heart, I went to take my oral exam. And of course, I forgot everything. So I flunked really, really bad on my oral exam for the journalism. In a way, it's a good thing. I'm back to English now. So I went back to work, and I told my master what happened. My master said, oh, don't worry. It's okay. We try next year. I said, you don't understand. There is no next year. My dad will kill me. He said, we don't have to tell them. And I said, but they have to sign off. He said, oh, we'll figure it out. They signed off this year, didn't they? You have a piece of paper? I said, yes. We got it figured out. So he just did it.
And did.
Yeah, he did it, you know, mimicking my dad's signature. I'm in. So I went to the next year, and I did swimmingly well. I got in. Time comes that I have to pick a university. And my dad said, you are grounded. You can't go outside of our state. So I have to pick a university within our state. So I picked the biggest university I could think of. So I went to Hangzhou University. And there I studied English. But when I got there, we had a class of 183 students. I'm at the bottom, because everybody else had the father, the uncle, somebody know English. I studied by myself. I have no idea if I was studying it right or wrong. So after 1 month in the university, I was so depressed. I wrote a letter to my master in the factory. Take me back. I'm not doing well here. I have to come back to work in the factory. He wrote me a letter, says, there is nothing here for you. You cannot come back. Stick it out. So that killed my back road.
Yeah.
So I worked really, really hard. I get up every day, 5 o'clock a.m., study and study and study. The classroom building lights goes out at 11. So I look around the campus, see if where I can continue to study after the building shuts down. The light goes out. So I found the gym. The gym lights goes on all night. So one day I'm in the gym. I'm practicing pronunciation with a small hand mirror. I'm doing R thing. The security came in and said, what are you doing here? And I quickly hide my mirror behind my back. And they said, show us what you got. They think I was stealing something. I said, no, I'm just practicing my English, I'm okay. And they said, no, we want to see your hand. So I showed them a piece of mirror. They couldn't understand what I'm doing here. They said, now don't you ever come in here. You're not supposed to be here. It's after 11. You're supposed to be back in your dorm. So I got kicked out of there. And from then on, I was studying under the street lights between 11 and 12. That's how I got my nearsightedness. I developed my nearsightedness then. So I finished, graduated top 3 in my class.
Wow.
And they assigned me to teach. You know, that's the greatest honor. You know, back then,
Absolutely.
It's all assigned. They send you here and there, and they assigned me to join the faculty. So I was very honored to do that. And then at that time, I was dating my ex-husband, and he was accepted into the graduate program in Beijing University. So I asked if I could be transferred over there, naive me, and they said, transfer? What do you mean transfer? No, you are assigned to do what you do, and you do it for 5 years before we can let you go sit in for graduate exam. I said, 5 years? That's a long time. So I was kind of complaining to my mentor, a senior faculty member. And so this faculty member says to me, come to my house, we can talk. So I went to his house. He said to me, I know the president very well. He's an old friend of mine. Do you want me to go talk to the president for you? I said, can you please? He said, let's go, pay him a visit. You know, back then there is no email, there is no phone. We just walk. We walk in, he knocks the door, the president is home, he welcomed us in. So he said to the president, he said, I have this young, talented lady who wants to go to Beijing University. Is there anything we can do? The president said, she just got here. And my mentor said, I know, but her fiance, her boyfriend, is over there and she wants to go. So the president said, well, how are you going to get there? I said, I don't mind take a test. He said, oh, so you mean you want to take the graduate exam? I said, yes. He said, you only have 2.5 months. You think that's good enough time for you? I said, yes, absolutely. So I got myself the permission to take the test. I had 2.5 months. I went back to my dorm, shared it with 3 other faculty members. I closed my mosquito nest thing, locked myself in the bed. I studied day and night for 2.5 months, and I took the test. And I passed. At the bottom again, because everybody else graduated from Beijing University or the parents are teaching in Beijing University. I'm the only girl coming outside of Beijing University, and everybody asked me, who is your father, mayor or something? And I said, my father is a factory worker. They said, who do you know? I said, nobody. So, but I got there.
Wow.
And I was the first female in my city at that time who went to Beijing University as a graduate student.
So how did you get in this Tiananmen Square thing?
So once we got into Beijing University,
I'm taking you the long way.
I was studying there, and I always have this kind of a rebellious side of me and like to ask a lot of questions. So one day, I'm walking on the campus passage, and I cross the dean. And the dean says to me, oh, Jianping, I have good news for you. Your faculty and your colleagues think you're great. They're going to nominate you to be a Communist Party member. And I said, oh, thank you. And I didn't think much of it, but it's supposed to be a great honor.
Prestige, yes.
And I said, okay, thanks. And I'm turning around to walk away. He said, oh, wait, one more thing. And I, what's that? He said, don't have too many ideas. And I don't know where I got this, but I turned around and I said, Professor who? And that's his name. Do you know the difference between human beings and pigs? And he looked at me like really puzzled. I'm like, what's that? He said, I said, humans have ideas and pigs don't. His face turned
Oh, I'm sure.
liver red, beef red. And I knew I did something terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I turned around, I walked away. Of course, I don't join the Communist Party, forget that.
Oh, yeah.
But I almost didn't graduate because
Wow.
he came to my dissertation defense. And he
wanted
almost
to wreck
ruined it.
Yes.
And so around that time, Chinese women's volleyball team won the Asian Cup. And Deng Xiaoping was doing too much control. So Beijing University, for just those of you who don't know the history of Beijing University, it's a birthplace of democracy for Chinese. And 1919 has this famous youth movement that originates on Beijing University. You know,
I didn't know.
yeah, Beijing University is like
Like Philadelphia would be, or the birthplace.
it's
of
like a
democracy.
Harvard of
Oh, okay.
America, and it's the best, place for people to go study liberal arts, humanities, kind of thing. And then Tsinghua University is like a Chinese MIT. And we are adjacent. We are sister institutions. And so when Deng Xiaoping did all these things, Beijing University students were very vocal and very critical of what he was doing. And I was the volleyball captain and for our class. So, we took the opportunity of volleyball team victory to voice our political discontent. So because Deng Xiaoping, his first name Xiaoping, is the Chinese sound-wise as same as a bottle, the glass bottle. So we were throwing glass bottle all over the campus, crashing the bottle from the 3rd floor, 4th floor to make the crashing sound to say we're not happy with you.
Deng Xiaoping.
So we start to organize some protests on the campus. And I was wearing traditional Chinese long dress that's very feminine, like, fitted with collar
Oh, yes.
and with a slit on the
Yes,
side.
yes.
Well, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to wear navy blue or gray, because it's the still Mao's era.
Ah,
So I'm wearing red Chinese traditional dress to make a statement. We're not happy because you don't let us be who we are and let us speak what's on our mind. And very soon we attract a lot of people on the campus to join us. So the foreign languages and the economics, 2 departments, become the leading voices. And we start to write those papers like you saw in Tiananmen Square on the wall. They call the Democracy Wall. It
Yes.
started on Beijing University campus. We were writing this thing, and before you know it, everybody else is responding. So it covered the entire bulletin board, and then on the trees, then on the walls, and it was all over the campus. And then they closed the campus gate. They don't allow us to go off the campus because we were starting to walk off the campus and bringing other people onto the campus. They closed the campus. So now, the soon they close the campus gates, the Tsinghua University students coming rushing out to support us because that's the
Yeah.
students' thing.
That's
They want to support you. So now we have the gate. Beijing University is on this side, Tsinghua University is outside of the gate, and we're chanting. We're protesting. That's how we started with the,
wow.
yeah. And then one night I said, okay, they are locking us down here. We can't go anywhere. But by midnight, there's no security here. Why don't we just climb over the gate and let's march? So 30 plus of us climb over the gate and start marching. And we marched, and we were joined by Tsinghua University students, and then we marched by People's University. The whole district is a university district. So by the time we passed the People's University, the police pushed us back. And that was the very, very beginning of what later morphed into something huge. And so back then, people think I have made a lot of problems. It caused a lot of a headache for myself. I need to get out.
So how did you leave?
So my then ex-husband, who was a visiting scholar, Fulbright visiting scholar at law school in Twin City, Minnesota. So I have, by rule, I have the right to visit him. So I came out. I came out to visit him, and then as soon as I got here, I applied graduate schools. And then how I got to Harvard.
That's how you got to Harvard.
Yeah.
Now, listen, Dr. Wang, I appreciate you providing me with this story because I've been dying to ask it. And I think that also I felt that in asking you about this, it would allow the viewing audience to really get an insight into the person who now is at the forefront of our institution. How it is that you made it, because resistance is really what it is that you've been talking about. And here we are in a school primarily peopled by people of varied cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
And we, I feel, need to know the person, know more about the person who is our leader, if you will,
Yeah.
and how it is that you share this common denominator amongst those of us who come from humble beginnings.
Yes.
Right. So that's why I wanted you to ask. And
Absolutely.
it may have, seemed very long and all, but I think that story is very, very
necessary
important.
for people to understand where my values are based.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you very, very much for
Thank
your time.
you. Thank
Good
you.
Dr. Wang, right? And ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard our first conversation with our good doctor and new president, Dr. Jianping Wang. Thank you for your listening and for your support and for your kindness. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.